Hey, look, I grew up in a home with parents that were from Jamaica, so I don't recall really much conversation about race. My church and my school was predominantly black, and of course, my family was black, as well as most of my friends. So I had very few interactions with white people or people of different race and or skin color. But the few interactions I had was pretty much that's it. Interactions, nothing more, nothing less. Of course, I learned about slavery and Jim Crow and things like that in school, but I took it for what it was: history, not current events. That's what it was. But now I'm not saying I never experienced anything racist, but nothing that would make me want to say stuff like this.
What exactly are white people superior at?
They're real good at violence.
Violence, genocide. It's like stealing people's lives just because they feel like it.
If you are white and you know this is happening and you say nothing, then you're a killer too.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Insecurity, pretending,
Fear, being fearful of nothing, being ignorant,
Blame.
Letting their egos control their every move, superior at being dicks.
What exactly are white people superior at?
oppression.
Gaslighting,
Lack of empathy.
intellectualizing oppression.
Did I say oppression?
What exactly are white people superior at?
Taking what's not there.
Taking shit.
Taking our ideas.
Copycatting.
Gentrification.
Appropriating things that do not belong to them.
Taking over other people's cultures and making you believe that they invented it.
Damn, how did we get here? We're to a point where it's not only okay to denigrate people based on their skin color, but it's also actually encouraged due to being oppressed. What was stated could be true for some white people, but to say for all? But then when someone says something negative about us black folks, they're racist?
Best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. I resigned from the hate group called Black American.
Now, that right there was Steve Adams, the creator of the comic strip Dilbert. He basically was saying there's no reason to be around black folks because they're racist towards white folks. So now I guess each side is justified in their racism towards each other. And this couldn't be the I have a dream that Martin Luther King was talking about. This can't be it. And to add to this nightmare, on numerous occasions, many attempts has been made to teach an ideology that supports this type of behavior in our elementary and high schools. Critical race theory. Critical race theory, or CRT, basically it was started by the first black Harvard professor by the name of Derek Bell, who initially laid claim to the term critical legal theory, which basically states America is fundamentally a racist country. Now, I can understand to some degree on why Professor Bell, thought something like this. He developed his theories based upon the racial turmoil America was going through, back in the 60s. And also, he based it upon his teaching of an Italian Marxist philosopher by the name of Antonio Gramsci, who devised the theory of culture hegemony in the 1920s. Gramsci's theory was that capitalist society is based upon a rich ruling class, and that this class uses the state or government and cultural institutions to maintain power. Now, when you think about that, it's not too far-fetched to how America is nowadays. But to me, that's somewhat understandable because that is human behavior, regardless of race. It's basically a survival of the fittest mindset where you gain power, you want to maintain that power for yourself and also for your offsprings. It makes sense. Now, Professor Bell, he applied those theories of culture hegemony to America's legal system, as he felt it was justified from extracting from someone who has to someone who you believe deserves. The whole equity concept.
Equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place.
And once again, I can understand that type of thinking, back in the 60s, because civil rights laws were just being enacted back then. So there obviously was systematic oppression in America's laws, which led to the necessary changes. But then, just like with a lot of movements, a change happened. A new wave of understudies came along in the 80s and 90s, and they applied the theories of critical legal theory to other facets of American life. Other facets of American life that they deemed were systematically racist. You had advocates from Kimberly Crenshaw to Marie Matsuda and Charles Lawrence, who all eventually coined the term critical race theory, and from there also coined another term, intersectionality, And intersectionality is kind of like a Venn diagram of layers of oppression. And once again, these theories are okay to be taught in college and in higher education classes. But the question is, should it be taught in schools K to 12? And of course, the answer is no. A theory is based upon observation that contains facts and hypothesis. So, for example, a famous theory is the theory of evolution, where the factual part is that humans, like other animals, evolved over time and survived through natural selection. But there's also the numerous hypotheses in this theory where Darwin's reasoning on evolution is still speculative. Speculative as, the common descent of where human beings evolved from is highly questionable. I mean, did we evolve from monkeys, apes? I don't know. And most people don't believe this, as a science with paleontology, it can only go so far. So with that being said, Darwinism is not taught in elementary and high schools. The schools that do teach evolution, they have to apply science based upon empirical evidence. So if theory of evolution has to be taught based upon empirical evidence, then why the same cannot be applied to race relations in America? Thus teach the factual history unless you're trying to indoctrinate these kids. And when people say, CRT is not taught in schools K to 12, if that's the case, then why is this being said?
I'm the science coach and admin in the largest public school district in Indiana. I'm in dozens of classrooms a week, so I see exactly what we're teaching our students. When we tell you that schools aren't teaching critical race theory, that it's nowhere in our standards, that's misdirection. We don't have the quotes and theories as state standards per se. We do have critical race theory in how we teach. We tell our teachers to treat students differently based on color. We tell our students that every problem is a result of white men and that everything Western civilization built is racist. Capitalism as a tool of white supremacy. Those are straight out of Kimberly Crenshaw's main points, verbatim in Critical Race Theory, the writings that formed the movement. When schools tell you that we aren't teaching critical race theory, it means one thing. Go away and look into our affairs no further. It isn't about transparency, it isn't about cultural relevance. It's race essentialism, painted to look like the district cares about students of color. We call it anti-racism, so you feel bad if you disagree with our segregationist pedagogy. It's taking advantage of kids' vulnerability and parents' inactivity to preen over social snake oil schemes designed to create division. Parents, when we tell you critical race theory isn't taught in our schools, we're lying. Keep looking.
Also, it clearly showed up on Virginia's Department of Education website. So CRT at one point, and even maybe right now, is being taught to young students in K to 12, and it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous to do because at that age, children, of course, are very impressionable. They can easily adopt a sense of internalized oppression, where they accept the teachings of CRT, where black kids are oppressed and white kids are oppressors. And these kids end up advocating and doing things against their own best interests. Now, look, I can see on the surface how CRT has some good merits. As like I said, it has some facts mixed in with the hypothesis. But it's the hypothesis part that can lead a student to being misinformed, misled, and eventually this just makes society worse by its teachings. And another form of ideology that led to a movement that was pure and genuine at first was feminism. Feminism advocated for women's rights and freedoms, but now it's starting to backfire on its beneficiaries. I discuss how and why.